This video is sponsored by Anify Me, where you, yourself, can be animated into your favorite characters at a decent price, and get a 20% discount after each purchase. Link is in the description below if you wish to check it out. And now, on with the video. Hey there YouTubers and subscribers, RoseRed17 here, and this is my reanalysis fairy tale character video of Lucy Heartifila. Why am I making a reanalyzed video of a character? Well, there's a few reasons why. For one thing, I've been getting comments about my negativity towards this character. And yes, it has been going on for a long time since I uploaded my first Lucy analysis video back in April 2019, about 3 years ago. There's a link in the description down below if you wish to check it out and tell me your thoughts about it. But trust me, I got some negative thoughts on another certain character that I know and love. But I will talk about him in his reanalysis video. And most of you who may or may not know that I am not a big fan of Lucy, and so I made some bad comments about her even though she did nothing wrong, and it's thanks to her fans that I decided to change my way of thinking about her. So then let's start us with the introduction of Lucy Heartifila, who is a young celestial wizard who wants to join a wizard guild, but then come across Natsu Dragneel and his little friend Happy, who brought her to the guild fairy tale. She starts out as the weak damsel in distress, or DID for short, who has been saved all the time into a strong mage who ends up saving them in return. Most fans are surprised by the change towards her, so all the attention focused on the celestial mage instead of the dragon slayer. I find Lucy's character development kinda boring because I've seen it many times before. In fact, since the first episode of the series, I expected the weak character who becomes stronger and better throughout the series trope from Lucy. I just knew she would end up like the person she is now, and it was no surprise to me. I know her and Natsu were supposed to be equals when it comes to development, but I've seen more of Lucy than Natsu. Her dream goal was to become a novelist, as her favorite hobbies is reading and writing, but she goes on adventures with Natsu and others to gain money to pay for her rent because she fails to make any. Jeez, I wonder why. Lucy is actually the runaway daughter of a wealthy diplomat who cares more about his money than his own child. This is where Lucy caught my interest. Now in the beginning, I didn't pay that much attention to her because she was not one of the characters I want to lay my focus on. But after watching the Phantom Lore arc, which was the introduction of Lucy's backstory, it changed my point of view on this character. I thought Lucy's role wasn't that important to the show since, believe it or not, I thought Lucy was going to have the same role as Kobe from One Piece, a character that is shown in the first episode thinking he was one of the main protagonists along with Monkey D. Luffy. But that wasn't the case. Kobe wasn't shown again until, I don't know, number plus episodes, where him and Luffy meet once again after so long, and I literally thought Lucy was going to have the same role. Well, I feel like a goddamn idiot. Even it says in the plot description of the manga, Lucy's name was the first one that came up. Yeah, I didn't read the description. I started watching the first episode and quickly jumped to conclusions, which was a poor mistake on my part. And I also thought Lucy wasn't gonna be a main protagonist of the show and just being Natsu's right-hand girl. But boy was I wrong. It took me a long time to realize how valuable this character is. It's all because of this scene.
Lucy?
All the money in the world can't buy you happiness. I figured that out when I was a child. Finally, I'm truly happy. And I'm not gonna let you ruin it for me, you hear? I'm warning you. You better not mess with Fairy Tail ever again.
Standing up to her abusive and power-hungry father was Lucy's big step towards her growth as a character. And it was definitely a big step for me and my dumb to acknowledge and respect her, and since then I started to see Lucy as an enjoyable character, as she has done a lot for the guild and her teammates, like saving Loki from dying, helping Juvia come out of her senses after being brainwashed, calling out to everyone who's arguing at each other during the Battle of Fairy Tail, helping Kana in the S-Class trial and giving her the courage to tell her father the truth, traveling back in time to warn Natsu and the others about the upcoming apocalypse, summoning the Celestial Spirit King to save everyone from a dark and powerful spell, keeping track of all the members after the disbandment of the guild, and saving Natsu's life by rewriting within the book of E&D. So yeah, thinking back to all the great things she has done, I should be respecting her more and would make her one of my top 5 or even top 3 favorite characters. But the question that has been whispering in my head asking, why do I still have a problem with her, and why is she still my least favorite? Well, the truth is, I've had mixed feelings about this character. Not sure I should love her or hate her, and since you all heard my devil side talking about her in my other video, I'm going to set her aside and listen to my angel side. So this is going to be a positive analysis from now on. So where do I start? Well, for one thing, Lucy is the most relatable character, and what makes people relate to her is because of her backstory. You see, as a child, Lucy lost her mother, and her father neglected her throughout her childhood. A lot of people can relate to this and sympathize with her. Another thing is that they like watching her develop. Seeing one of the weakest characters growing to become strong gains a lot of attention, and she is compassionate towards others, including the bad guys, even though the ones that tortured her. Lucy is one of those slow progressing protagonists, which are some of the few that I'm not too fond of unless the character is interesting enough for me to actually care. Even though Lucy is one of these types of characters, she is not boring to say the least. Yeah, there are times when I find her enjoyable to watch, but sometimes she's not. I mean, the most complaints about her is being the fan service poster girl, but that's not her fault. She didn't want to get naked on the battlefield or get her dress cut off. Yes, sometimes she does these things that make my face palm my forehead. A lot. But to be fair, Natsu and Happy have done things that give me the same reaction, so I will cut Lucy some slack. However, there are some issues with her that rubs me the wrong way. For example, in the Edelus arc, when Earthland Lucy was brought to Edelus by Mystigan and gives her the X-Ball that allows her to use her magic. Of course, she didn't know at the time and was expecting help from Natsu, and so Lucy was the only one who could be helpful during that situation. Even though she sucked at it and had to get help from Edelus Natsu, but seeing Lucy getting all high and mighty for being the strongest in her group for once is not what got me. What does is that she has no idea why her magic is active in that world where everyone else isn't. The whole time I thought that little detail slipped her mind because of everything that's happening to her. And when she was asked how she got there, she mentioned Mystigan and that he did something to her that allowed her to use her magic. Honestly, I was letting this one slide and thinking that she might remember back to that time.
That's what it was? I was wondering what he popped in my mouth.
It's a good thing you took one, because you can't use your magic in this world without it.
I had no idea.
Wait a minute. She never forgot about that, but never figured out what that tiny ball did to her? Okay, I'm not trying to be negative here. I'm trying to make sense. During this scene, I figured it out right away. I remember repeating myself saying, it was the pill, it was the pill, it was the pill, all the way to this scene. And I got a brain of an average person with a learning disability. If somebody like me figured this out after seeing this scene, she could have too, considering that she's a lot more clever and smart than I am. I mean, the girl can solve difficult puzzles, read from different types of books in her life, and yet she couldn't figure out something this simple? I guess it pays to be a genius. Another one is in the Grand Magic Game arc. Out of all the people, why was Lucy the one that traveled back in time when Levi was the only other person that survived? If Levi was the one that traveled back in time and warned everybody about the danger, I don't think it would make a difference if it was Lucy or not. Natsu and the others would fight to save the world, or it could be the Naluma during the scene of her death, which honestly, I don't have a problem with. And also having Lucy come from a different time to warn her friends about the upcoming apocalypse just seems like foreshadowing plot to show her family connection to Zeref, the Dragon Slayer, the Eclipse Gate, and what happened on the year X777. Another one is when she stayed behind and kept track of everyone after Gil's disbandment. I mean, she could have stayed with Levi or Kana or any other members that left. That way, she wouldn't feel so lonely. I feel like her purpose in this scene was to let Natsu and Happy know about the Gil's disbandment and help them track down the other members. I mean, Natsu and Happy would have found out about the Gil's disbandment with or without Lucy telling them. So in my opinion, I think it wasn't necessary for Lucy to stay behind and wait for them to return, but she chose to stay because she wanted to. She knew that they would return after 1 year because of Natsu's letter. Speaking of letter, I want to talk about the scene where Lucy learned about Natsu leaving her for an entire year. Watching Lucy running after him with tears in her eyes made a lot of viewers pity her and feel sorry for her. But for me, however, I felt nothing. I mean, I felt nothing. I didn't feel sad for her. I didn't pity her. I felt no ashamed. I didn't feel anything. And it's so strange because this is the character who has emotional scenes that brought me to tears. Either it's sadness or joy. Standing up to her father, surprise. Saving Loki, satisfied. Begging for Ares' freedom, siding with her. Watching herself die, tearjerker. Learning that her father is dead, waterworks. Losing Aquarius, oh my god, you wouldn't believe the waterfalls coming out of my eyeballs. It's such a sad and emotional moment that will never be forgotten. Now being left behind by not too happy for a whole year? Nothing. Even after the 1 year time skip, I didn't feel any sadness towards her. And I think the reason is because this scene took place after this scene. Yeah, it just felt like the placing was off. Going to skip the 1 year week scene of Natsu being depressed, or why he decided to leave for a whole year to train. Seriously, the guy could be suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder, and yet it's focused on Little Miss Lonely Whiner here. I'm sorry, but that doesn't feel right. I know Lucy is suffering too. After losing Aquarius, she fell into depression, and I don't think she'd ever talk to anyone. But I do think it would have been better if her and Natsu talk about their problems. I mean, they had time, a week before Natsu left, and they should have talked things out, but that never happened. So I didn't really like this scene, not just on Lucy's part, but Natsu's as well. To be honest with you guys, Lucy seems more like a plot device character to me after Grand Magic Games. Yes, she still has some good scenes that I enjoy and love afterwards, but before Grand Magic Game, she was a character who always had a purpose. I'll point them out for you, starting with the Daybreak arc. In this arc, Lucy and Natsu are on a job to find and destroy a book, but Lucy found out who the author is and decided to investigate, and found a message inside the book for his son. I feel like Lucy's role in this one was meaningful, because she was familiar with the author's work, but not the author himself, as she never met him, but still gives a good purpose in her role. Next is Phantom Lord, which is what we all know is Lucy standing up to her father for the first time in her life, and I don't think I need to say any more. Next is the Loki arc. Being a celestial wizard who sees her spirits as a friend instead of a tool has always been one of Lucy's strongholds, and saving Loki is proof enough. In the Irashon says, just like Loki, Lucy is willing to save Ares from her abusive holder, and is willing to have her own life taken from her just so Ares can be free. Same goes for all of her other spirits. But you know, if she dies, those spirits might end up with a new holder who could be worse. I'm just saying. In Tenro Island arc, Lucy agreed to be Kana's partner, help her become an S-class wizard so she can stay in the guild. It turns out that Kana joined the guild because of Gildars, who turns out to be her father. Kana's been trying to tell him for years that she is his daughter, and so she decided to become an S-class wizard, but failed 4 times. And if she failed this time, she would quit the guild. But of course, Lucy wasn't having it and would do anything to help Kana. The reason I felt like Lucy's role had a purpose was because of the disconnection with her own father. And then after Kana gained the courage to tell her father the truth, Lucy started to think about her father and decided to start things over with him. But then the 7-year time skip happened and Lucy was left without a father, and once again another Lucy scene that drove me to tears. And leads to my least favorite arc in the entire series, the key to the story flippin' heavens. Lucy's role in this arc is meaningful. That's all I'm gonna say. Meaningful. So I'll say one more thing before ending this video. Lucy may be my least favorite character in the series, but she is not my most hated. She's not as bad as I thought she was in the past. Lucy is a good character, but there are other characters I favor more. And if you like Lucy and you think she's the best character, then I will respect your opinion. And in return, I ask you to respect mine. I know some of them are negative, but most of them are positive. Lucy Heartifila is not the worst character in my opinion, but I personally don't think she's the best either. To me, Lucy is average, and I know she's the most popular character in the series now, as proven by the results of the popularity contest in 100 Year Quest. But that doesn't change my point of view on the character. In some scenes, I think she's doing great. In other scenes, she's doing okay. Well then everyone, thank you so much for watching, and if you are new here, you can subscribe to this channel, and you can also hit that notification button for more updates on my newest videos. And don't forget, you can check me out on Twitter, TikTok, and Discord, and I'll see you all in the next video. RoseRed17 out.